So this is Louis, and let's go for take two. Hey, I'm trying. So this is not going to be the white pill video. This is just going to be a retrospective. And it's mainly going to be me clarifying a few things. And then once I clarify a few things, I'm going to talk about a couple reservations I have. And then I'm going to talk about one aspect of the game, and it's the last on my list of pros. And I will repeat myself in this video and one more time when I do the white pill video, because that's going to be the next video on Cyberpunk. But the last pro on my list is they changed the game dramatically from the first demo. So the demo that came out in 2018, where they went to that apartment, grabbed the naked chick, and Trauma Team came in and picked her up. By all accounts, and I mean this, based on what we know, when that demo dropped, the dev team sat down afterward and said, this is not good enough, we could make this game better. And that is what they did. After they did this demo, they sat down somewhere around the time. They decided that they were going to make this game better. And so they started changing a lot about the game. They changed an unbelievable amount of this game. And even though they claim at one point, I'd have to look for the article, but they said like everything's good to go in terms of, line reading. We're not doing any kind of like game reshoots where we're re-recording lines. That's bullshit. They did do that. They did re-record lines. And that's been proven. So after this demo, they did the thing that is antithetical to so many different companies, and especially like Ubisoft. It's my biggest complaint about Ubisoft. They know there's something wrong with the game. They don't care. It's going to release. Fuck everything. It doesn't matter if the game is a total dud. It's just straight to release. You got your first draft. You got your first execution. It's going straight to release. There's no changing this game. It's just polishing the turd. When it came to Cyberpunk and CD Projekt Red, they did the opposite. They had something that looked fine, and they decided, well, fine isn't good enough. And they've changed the game since then. And they've provably changed the game. Because I think once they started, they realized, well, we can change this and make it better, we can change this and make it better, we can change this and make it better. And I think at this point, based on what I've seen, based on what I'm hearing, and I've listened to hours and hours and hours of people that have been going over interviews to people that have played the game, and I would say that at this point, my expectations of the game have been raised. Life Pass was the name of the trailer. It took me a minute to fucking remember. That trailer in particular pretty much showed me, from what other people were saying prior to this information being released and these trailers being released, that they were really leaning into this being an actual role-playing game. And my fear was the opposite. But I can say that at this point, that fear has been quashed. Whether the execution is going to be revolutionary, that to me is the degree that I'm not at. I'm not at the point where I'm going to say this is going to be a revolutionary game. But I would say that from what I'm seeing, and from what I've heard, and what we know, it's most likely that this game is going to be good. And I think that the level of good is going to be far superior to many of the different companies out there. I think this game is probably going to get Game of the Year. I think that there's a very good chance that this game is probably going to outlast plenty of games that people have said are 10 out of 10s, including games like Red Dead Redemption 2. I have the feeling that this game is going to blow games like that well out of the water. Despite what everyone says about, oh, Red Dead 2, the story and blah, 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 the atmosphere. From what I'm seeing, I think this game is going to make that game look like shit. It's going to make it look like what my opinion of it is. And the credit goes to CD Projekt Red that realized what they had was something that could be polished into something better. And that's what they did. To talk about the Life Path trailer shortly, because it's not really the point of this commentary, but I'll I'm not going to put it in the white pill video, so I might as well put it here. The trailer impressed me because it made me far more interested in the street kid life path. Previously to this trailer, I wasn't really interested that much in street kid. But the backfire, though, I would say, is that it really catapulted me in terms of any interest in Nomad. I was like, yeah, I don't give a fuck now. After watching this trailer, I was like, yeah, I don't care about Nomad. This looks stupid. And if you want to do that, that's fine. But I was like, yeah, you're a bunch of, like, hillbilly hypocrites. Yeah, I don't give a fuck. I don't care. We value freedom, blah, 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 family, but yeah, you guys are a bunch of fucking marauding robbers. What do I give a fuck? So I would say that, unfortunately, with the video, it really dampened my view of Nomads, but it kept my interest in Corpos, and it impressed me when it came to Street Kid. I was like, wow, this actually looks genuinely interesting. This looks like something that actually encapsulates what the game is. And that's pretty much what you should do as an RPG. You should capture my interest. When given a choice, and I have my bias in terms of the life path that I want to start with, to change my mind and say, you know what, maybe this is worth a playthrough. Maybe I do want to, play as a street kid, because it actually looks genuinely interesting. That is something that I have not seen in quite a while. And it's impressive, and that's why I say my view of the game has brightened, and I think this trailer has definitely epitomized what it is about this, this change, this retrospective. It's the fact that they have made changes, and this appears to be a good game. It appears to be a game that is in many ways provocative, that it is withholding, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. It is withholding information for the purposes of keeping your interest once you start playing. If you know every fucking aspect of the game, then it makes it boring, right when you get going. But if you withhold information, if you withhold, and there's a bunch of things I'll talk about in a second of what they're holding back, but the reason why they've kept everything very close to the first 5 hours of the game is because they don't want you to lose focus once you start playing the game. By all accounts, they want you to pick up this game, have some semblance of an idea of what the game is going to be at the beginning, and then once you cross the threshold of, the first act, so to say, or once you break away from your original background, you start going into the main game, that's when they want you to have an all-new experience. So everyone's going to be having an all-new experience once they start playing the game and they get past the backstory element, the first 4 or 5 hours of the game. When it heads into the main story, they want everyone to be going in with open eyes and no preconceived bias or knowledge to what it's going to be. And I think that's because they are, in fact, confident. Not that they're afraid, because I think in the past they were when it came to the first demo, and that's why they changed this game. You can go back and look around what people are saying. They have dramatically changed this game. While perhaps not revolutionary, I think that there is a good chance that this is going to be probably one of the best games of the next 10 years. Because it's very easy for me to say that when so many of the games that I'm aware of now, in the near future, coming out this year, whatever, none of these games hold a candle to Cyberpunk. None of them. None of them hold a candle to this game. And unless they spectacularly crash and burn in the execution of this game, which I don't think they're going to do, then who the hell are they competing with at this point? It's unfortunate to say, but, CD Projekt Red benefits from it. So I think that's probably going to be true. I think 10 years from now, so 2030, Cyberpunk, even though it came out in 2020, I think people will still say, oh, that was the best game of the last decade. I think that's what is going to happen. because, like I say, I think it's a bleak future. But, hey, keep that in mind. Keep that in mind as we're running up to the release of this title. That there's a good chance that this game is going to stand, as every other game has come out like a wet fart and crashed. So in this game, there's builds, not classes. This is not an MMORPG. This is going to be closer to something like Fallout, where you have stats at the beginning that you choose from, and most likely, even though you're going to get additional stats in the game, you're probably going to have to be going into this game with some idea of what kind of build that you're going to want to play. So there are definitely going to be like guides to builds online. You're going to see, oh, here's how you play Master's Assassin or Sniper or the best kind of net runner or straight up the best kind of melee or variety of melee. I put this in my pros. I guess I'll say it anyways, that there's a lot of different ways to play this game. With other games, especially like with Fallout 4, you put on that power armor and you're basically indestructible. In this game, it's not that. I don't want to say that it's necessarily balanced because I don't know, and it appears that no one knows, but it doesn't matter. What does matter is that there's many different ways to play this game, and they all seem to work. So whether you're going in guns blazing, you're going in with a fucking sword, you're going with samurai in there, or you're a net runner and you're just going in stealth and you're hacking people, it seems that there's many, many, many ways in this game to be effective. And I think, probably a few weeks in, you're going to go online, you can look up guides to builds, and there's going to be a fucking list of like 30 builds. I'm sure people are going to come up with all kinds of crazy shit that I'll never be interested in playing. Crafting in this game is another thing that they haven't shown, but I'm very interested in seeing. I don't know if they're going to show that before the release at all, but I'm very interested in seeing the crafting, because one of my concerns is loot, and I guess I'll segue to that. Loot in this game is something that I'm concerned with because they've already said that there's caches in the game, you can find weapons in the game, it isn't just what you're picking off of dead bodies, that you're going to be looting around and shit like that. I can't say that I'm really interested in that. I don't want this to be Fallout. It seems that the pacing in this game is incredibly fast. By all accounts, the pacing in the game is incredibly fast in terms of the story. I don't want to see that contradicted with you being weighed down by a ton of shit and you having to scavenge entire buildings to find the loot. That's my fear. So I really do hope that this game is not too loot focused. I don't want this to be fucking Borderlands. This should be an RPG, a genuine RPG. Make this about the story, the narrative, the fast pacing of what everyone says is fast paced. Make it about that and the immersion. Don't make this a fucking looter shooter, alright? That's a concern of mine. I'm genuinely concerned about the loot. And it does play into crafting. But the thing is, like it is in many games, if I'm flush with cash and I can sell items that I create, and I do this a bunch of times in games, if a game has a simple enough crafting system and I can make a shitload of money, and there's a perk in this game where you can increase the sale price of guns and shit that you make yourself. If this game is oriented in the right way, where you can just create whatever and then sell it to make a shitload of cash, or eddies, as it is in this game, I'm just going to do that and fuck loot. I don't give a fuck about loot. All I care about is money. I want to have $1 billion in my account and not have to worry about fucking scavenging the game like it's fucking Fallout. I really, really, really don't want that to be in this game, because I hate that. I fucking hate it, because I need to do it. Anytime I walk in a building, I don't care if I have 100 million caps. I'm scavenging that fucking building and I'm finding every conceivable thing that I can sell at a profit. So, please don't do that in this game, because I don't want to play it like that. I really don't. I'll have to force myself to not be running around looting bodies, even if I have 1 million caps or 1 million eddies. Don't do it. Please don't. I put down here weather. There is a weather system in the game, from what we know, but we don't really know much about it. That's interesting. We'll have to see how that turns out. I've already said on here they're withholding information. It's because they don't want to bias people going into the game to the best of their ability. And it is zones, gangs. They're withholding a ton of information. There's like a scavenger gang and I think like 2 other gangs that they haven't really talked much about at all, that are not even like one of the listed gangs that we know about. So there's gangs in this game they haven't even talked about. There's zones in this game they haven't even talked about, like what's going on there. So there's a ton of fucking content in this game. That appears to be one of the things about this, is that there are a million fucking things to do in this game. And that's good. I like games with tons of content. Just as long as, you get to pick and choose, and it appears to be that way. One of the things I need to clarify, which is kind of a concern of mine, because it's disingenuous, and they've been this way the whole time. There was an article or an interview with one of the devs, one of the main devs, and he said that this game is not political, that we're not making this about political themes and modern day and yada yada. And, when it comes to like dystopian games, you are going to have to touch on certain things. But I get the gist of what he's saying. However, the fact is that the issue of the dick girls in the game is political. You can tap dance as much as you want around it. Mike Pondsmith has. Every dev that's been questioned on it has. They've all deflected, tap danced around it. None of them addressed it. None of them addressed the lore discrepancy. Even leftists, as I've said in the past, have addressed the lore discrepancy. They're unwilling to do it. So when you say, oh, this game is not political, 98% true, possibly, but the fact is, you still got that fucking 2% of the dick girls in the game, which is lore breaking. It's not in line with the lore. You could have done that. Mike Pondsmith already had it written up, and like I said, he's been questioned on this. The lore discrepancy, he's always deflected the question away. And every dev that's been questioned on it has also done that. That pisses me off. That's fucking disingenuous. Don't come out here saying, oh, it's not political, because I get the gist of what you're saying. But the fact is, that begs a certain question of what you did with the dick girls and pandering to people that are never going to fucking play your action RPG, your fucking FPS RPG. None of these fucking people are ever going to play this game. You pandered to them. You put this in your game. You broke the lore. It breaks immersion to me. You could have done otherwise. You chose not to. You still have not addressed that. Don't talk about this shit unless you want to piss me and everybody else off. Because this is annoying. Don't bring it up. And I get they're being asked questions about this shit. Just address it. Just fucking address it. Stop pretending like it's something that isn't a question. Because you did this. You didn't follow the rules that you should have. Neither did Mike. Mike's not answering any fucking questions either. But whatever, One of the complaints people have had, and I can't speak this to myself, but I've seen a bunch of people complaining about this. The AI in the game is probably going to be kind of dumb. It's not true universally in terms of what people have said, but I have seen that commonality among people that have played the game, that the AI looks kind of dumb. Or is kind of dumb. So, there's that. And I've already talked about loot. I'll end with this. The elephant in the room, and the big concern that people have had, the biggest complaint people have had, it's one of the reasons why there's been so much animus towards the game, as far as I can tell. There's been a bunch of people all over the place kicking up a stink recently. It's not like me where I've had concerns for quite a while, but recently. Third person appears to be the biggest issue that has backfired on them entirely. Advertising that in the trailers, which I complained about, that has backfired on them. That appears to be the universal fucking complaint from so many people. So many people did not like that choice. And the fact is we don't know until we play the game whether we individually will accept first person all the time. Because I've listened to hours and hours of people reflecting on them playing the game. And it's like a variety. Certain people had an issue with third person, went in, played the game, or like, you know what, I'm fine with first person. It's good. I like it. It's immersive. I'm enjoying it. I don't care about third person. Then there's other people that said, well, I didn't see what the big deal was. I played the game. Then I came out of it and said, I don't know. I really wish it was in the game. So to me, it's a question of you and me. Like, how are we going to reflect on the game itself? But what I'm saying is, I'm keeping my mind open. I'm willing to drop this as an issue until I play it. And then maybe give another retrospective on the actual game itself. But in my view, they so made a critical error when they were advertising the game to the degree that they were repeatedly in third person, when they cut all the third person out of the game and the whole game's in fucking first person. You see yourself in a fucking mirror, and that's about it. That's about as much as you're fucking seeing yourself. They really made a mistake in advertising this game. Like I say, I've listened to multiple people that have played the game, wanted third person, had a major complaint about the third person, played the first person, and said, I immediately got into it. I was immediately immersed. And that to me is heartening. I hear that and I say, great. That's exactly what I want to hear. I want to hear that the second you started this game, you were rolling with it. That you were deeply immersed. Because that's what I want. I want a solid RPG. And when I hear those kind of things, that the immersion in the game is very strong, that's fantastic. That the first person isn't an issue, fantastic. Great. I'm glad. I'm glad this is not an issue for people. It's a bit mixed right now in terms of what people's reactions are to it, how they react to the issue of third person versus everything in first person. I'm willing to give the game the benefit of the doubt at this point and say, hey, let's see. Let's see. Let's see how it goes. Because when I got people going on at length, telling me in all the different ways that they were immersed in this universe, that's exactly what I want to fucking hear. That's exactly what I want to hear. That's very reassuring to me. And that was one of my fears about this, was it wasn't going to work. The execution was not going to work. But I've listened to enough people at this point where I'd say, all right, I'm willing to wait. I'm willing to wait and see. So that more or less takes care of all the things I need to clarify. So this, like I say in the title, is going to be a retrospective. This is not going to be the white pill video where I'm going to go through all the positives. And I got that. I've already touched on, I believe, 2 in this. But I have 14. 14 things that I think stand out in reassuring me. I hope it reassures you. I think is a white pill video. You can keep in mind the critical things I've said in the past, and I've addressed it even as well in this video. And some of the issues that might be standout issues that are going to be in the final version no matter what. But the fact remains that I think as time has gone on and the more that I've heard, the more that I've seen, the more that it's been made clear to all of us that what they've been doing in the meantime between then and now, 2018 and now, is radically overhauling this game. I think that at this point there is a certain level of confidence that I can have in what they're producing. I can say right now that my appreciation and expectations of the game have risen, and it's the first time in quite a while that that's the case. My appreciation is that they really did roll up their sleeves and get to work and try to make a better game. Again, the execution is anybody's guess, but they did change this game. And they realized they weren't confident in what they had. They said, we can make this game better, and by all accounts, that's what they did. Or at least tried to do. I appreciate that. And I think it shows. I think it's showing in what we can now see that is the final build of this game. Even if they're not showing too much of it now. Just snippets here and there, trailers here and there. But this is it. We've reached the final build. We've reached what the game is going to be. And from what I'm seeing, it's impressing me. This is the kind of mood I want to be in when discussing this game. I don't want to be yelling. I don't want to be screaming. I don't want to be negative. I don't want to be driven to the point where I have to damn the whole studio and whatnot. I want to be shown something that I think I can appreciate and meets my expectations. And I think as it stands now, that's what we got. Great. Fantastic. So to preserve this take and to not fuck it up to the point where the editing becomes impossible, I will stop talking. I will leave it there. Because I think that I've addressed pretty much everything that I wanted to address in terms of the retrospective and why my opinion has shifted. Because I think now that we're actually looking at what the game is, and based on what people have played and whatnot, now my confidence is coming back. Now I'm being reassured. It greatly concerned me with what was going on when they continued to delay this game. And people were speculating and whatnot, but they didn't know. They didn't know what the fuck was going on. They didn't know. And they could say whatever they wanted to in terms of what they were doing. But as it stands, they've been making this a better game over time. They've been trying to make this into something that I hope pays off. I hope, like, we don't know in terms of whether what they tried to do is actually going to pay off and the execution is going to work. We don't know. But I can appreciate that they tried at the bare minimum. And it appears to me that to the degree where they're re-recording lines, they're creating different scenes, they're really going into this and just, okay, take this out, put this in, take this out, put this in, okay, rework this, okay, rework it again. They really did roll up their sleeves on this. And I think it's because, like I said, I think that fucking demo, that hour-long demo, 48 minutes, whatever, by all appearances, they weren't impressed with what they had at the time. And so they were like, okay, we're going to change this until we have something that we do think is worthy of the title and worthy of the brand and whatnot. And they're there. I think they're there now. Hopefully it pays off. I'm hoping this works. All I wanted was for you to recapture my interest, my attention, keep me focused, give me something that looks interesting, and reassure to me that this is going to be a good RPG and not some bullshit. You know, not like every other game in the industry. And I can say that from what I've seen, I don't think that's the case. I think this game is going to be special and fantastic for it. I just hope the execution works. I hope it does. So, that's going to be it for now. And in the future, I will do my white pill video where I just go through my checklist of positive aspects of this game that I have. And you'll just have to wait for that. All right? Thanks for listening.